we're just getting to the doctor too late. Fertility and pregnancy are just one of the most vulnerable time periods in someone's life. We as women carry the burden regardless of who the issue sits with. Having a male involved is medically sound, but it is also an emotional support. We've built our brand on empathy. I had pregnancy loss, and so every day I was scared that I would lose the pregnancy again. While you're in the process of waiting, you want to be able to control something. I was so just devastated. Just getting outside and moving, that is sometimes so helpful, but you sometimes just need daily movement, making sure that I'm physically well so that I can be strong in all of my roles. Because if you're not physically well, you can't be mentally well. Vulnerability in leadership is actually really important. One of our earliest decisions was to actually make our products vegan.
Today's guest is someone whose work was born from a deeply personal season where lived experience came before the business strategy. Samantha Diamond is the founder of Bird&Be, a fertility wellness brand that emerged from navigating TTC, unanswered questions, and emotional weight that women carry quietly. Hi, Sam. Thank you so much for joining us today. So when I was going through Bird&Be and about the founder story, business timelines or business milestones are one part, but what actually stood out was your personal journey. So there was a phase where you did everything right, yet you felt that something was missing, like tracking cycles or following up with timelines or being reassured, yet feeling unsure about what was happening. So could you just take us to that phase?
Yes. So I am very, very lucky to actually be married to a fertility doctor. And so I had a doctor in my back pocket for years and years who has, the deepest possible access to medical advice. And so I was turning to this person who lives with me to support everything I needed to know, or I thought I needed to know about my journey. And as we continued to grow our family and I began to struggle and I ended up miscarrying between pregnancies, I ended up being referred to a fertility naturopath. And this was through the guidance of both my husband and my doctor. Right. And it was at this point in time where I really realized there's this entire new world to integrative care that is kind of beyond the scope of a fertility doctor. And they both freely admitted, this is not our scope of work. We have one piece of the puzzle, and then naturopathic doctors have kind of the other piece. And that's more focused on the lifestyle perspective. So what can you be doing from a lifestyle perspective in your diet, with your exercise, with your sleep, with your supplements to support your journey even more optimally, to support egg quality and to support sperm quality. Right. And so it was at that point where I realized, well, there's all these other things that no one had ever mentioned. Right. And that's kind of where I dove in to hopefully helping to support other people on their journey from an integrative perspective.
Right. Amazing. Yeah. Because a lot of women do not have clarity. So they just end up, like I was talking to you prior to the recording, that if I want answers, it's just Google search. Yeah. Or it's ChatGPT. So getting that clarity is extremely important. So, and you have prior to launching Bird&Be, you had your own PR agency firm, like marketing and communication. So what gap did you see in the fertility space, which inspired you to dive deep in?
I think there's three main gaps. The first one being, we're just getting to the doctor too late. Right. So there's so many things that we could be flagging early on that would expedite our path to care that we just don't know about because the education's not there. The second piece is the actual education, because we don't get it in school, really. The first and potentially last time we hear about reproductive health is maybe in 10th or 11th grade science or health class.
Right.
And then that's it. And then we're similar to your story in the depths of the internet, trying to figure out what to do and what to take. And there's so many opinions out there, and it's really, really unclear. And the science is difficult to dig into. And you mentioned, I was working in my PR agency, and all of our clients were in the beauty space. And this is kind of when I realized, well, these beauty companies, these big beauty brands, it seems so easy for them to communicate such difficult science to a mass consumer. Like, I could tell you everything there is to know about what kind of moisturizer I need on my face because of this skin type and this peptide and these molecules. And we just didn't have that kind of education or brand education around our reproductive health.
Yeah.
And so I figured if these companies can successfully educate around our physical appearance, perhaps there's a way to do this for reproductive health. And then the third piece being, how can we make the reproductive health space appealing to a consumer? How can we avoid triggering them when they walk down the aisle looking for pregnancy tests and avoid seeing a whole sea of pictures of babies and pregnant women, especially because so many people like myself have struggled. Right. So those are kind of the three things that I said, I think we can change something here. And I said goodbye to my PR agency and dove headfirst into Bird&Be.
Amazing. Yeah. So it's getting that kickstart is something which is really important. So were there situations where you had to take a decision? So did your marketing brain just jump in? Or was there like a conflict between your marketing brain and your emotional side of it because you've lived through the experience yourself?
Yeah, I think there was kind of a few layers to this. So my co-founders have all also gone through infertility journeys. So there's a group of founding team members, including our medical doctors and our naturopathic doctors, all who had experienced infertility. And so we're all bringing to this space and this product the challenges and the emotion and how we wish we would have been treated as a consumer. From a marketing perspective, there were very specific things we knew we wanted to do to show respect for the journey. So we did not want to use pictures of babies and pregnancy bumps on packaging. We wanted to avoid, calling our products, specifically for women or for men. It's for males and females because we're speaking directly to the biology, and this product is for everyone. And we wanted to be super clear who it was for. We wanted to keep the packaging simple so that people wouldn't be embarrassed to have it out on their counter, or they could keep it by their bedside table. But then there's always the tension between what you're allowed to say, what you can say, and really what you want to say. Because, fertility and pregnancy are just one of the most vulnerable time periods in someone's life. And you want to make sure that you're not saying things that would create an expectation from someone that you're going to solve a problem, because, what we're trying to do is be a part of the journey and be a piece of the puzzle, but we're not pretending to solve their fertility problems. So we have to make sure that, again, we're being very specific with what the product does. We're explaining it in a way that's simple. And also in a space in Canada, this is highly regulated.
It's extremely regulated.
In the US, it is not. In Canada, it's very regulated. So everything that goes on your package needs to be approved by Health Canada.
Right. Yeah. So especially fertility is a space where people don't talk about it. That's one part. And also it's highly regulated, like you said. I'm going to pitch in about the male fertility thing, which I was talking during one of my episodes with Dr. Prati Sharma. I asked her the same question, where it's often seen as a women's issue. And they are the first ones to go through the test, while male infertility is also equally responsible. So what changes will that bring if we start looking at that as a shared human experience rather than a women's issue?
I think male fertility and focusing on male fertility is a feminist issue because we as women carry the burden regardless of who the issue sits with. So if you are going through fertility treatment and your issue is male factor infertility, it is still the female who is going to end up with the treatment. So the female is still going to be the one receiving the hormone injections, a surgical procedure for egg retrieval, for embryo transfer, carrying the pregnancy, delivering the baby. This all lies on the female. We're the one going to all of the appointments. We're the one tracking our cycles. The having a male involved is medically sound, but it is also an emotional support that I feel really would help to support the females carrying the burden.
Right. I was going through your product list where there's an in-home kit.
Yes.
There's an in-home kit for the male fertility, the sperm count. So do you think the narrative is actually changing? Like male are also understanding that they could have the issue as well. So rather than just women going through everything. So do you think right now, like this generation where men is also equally volunteering to be a part of the process or the procedure?
I think we're getting there, and I think conversations like this help. So our male fertility kit, our sperm test kit, is one of my favorite products because this is something that allows people to test early and identify an issue right from the get-go and avoid a potentially very long time trying to conceive, only to find out later that perhaps there was an issue with the male that could have been treated right up front. And so if we are talking about being proactive and testing for fertility, we must test both sides by having conversations about fertility as a shared experience. An embryo is 50-50, and 50% of infertility issues involve a male factor. So the data is there. If we can help to change the conversation, and we're doing that as one of our top missions every single day at Bird&Be, then we can probably prevent a lot of time spent, heartache, financial strain, relationship strain along the way if we can convince people, test up front, go straight to your doctor, and make sure that you're making those lifestyle improvements, taking your supplements, then you could actually have an impact sometimes in as little as 30 days.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
I guess it's all about the awareness, like you said, because earlier there was no awareness and people don't even talk about it. So now it's pretty much like the podcast or even your Bird&Be, all the posts that I come across, there's more emphasis on that, which again creates a lot of awareness. Yeah. Also a little bit about Bird&Be came into existence because there was not a market gap for the prenatal. That's because you design product for the women's that you once wear.
Yes.
So also if you take about startup, it's all about scale and speed. But your mission was, it created from empathy for women who were going through it. So at any point, like if I have to take you back to that phase where you're just sitting, the initial phase with a lot of product prototype or cartons in the living space, where at some point, did you feel that choosing empathy over speed would be risky?
I think we've built our brand on empathy. And empathy is what powers our innovation. Empathy is what powers our community and what has powered our growth, because we believe so deeply in having integrity and, again, evidence-based information around our products. We will never compromise our empathy or integrity because, again, we have been those people. And I think scale comes from truly, truly believing and living that mission every single day.
Understood. Yeah. And also you were telling me that you went through the process yourself where you had infertility issues, especially the waiting phase is something which is very daunting, where especially for the test results, you have to act normal because no one knows about it. You have to get up, you have to prepare lunch or go to work, come back. So how was that phase? How did you navigate that phase?
Oh, I always talk about the waiting just being agonizing. Everything about the process is waiting. You're waiting for your appointments. You're waiting for the right time. You're waiting to take your pills. You're waiting for the test results. You're waiting. And then once you get pregnant, you're continuously waiting. And for me, it was a day by day kind of wait because I had pregnancy loss. And so every day I was scared that I would lose the pregnancy again. And so it was literally a one step at a time, which is something that we truly embody at Bird&Be. We have it on the bottom of our socks for our customers. It's one step at a time. But the process for me of this kind of waiting also really played into how, again, that we communicate with our customers, because while you're in the process of waiting, you want to be able to control something. You want to be able to do something in your life that helps you regain control. And so that's why in all of our education, in all of our instructions, after you take some of our tests, we provide an action item. So we won't just leave you with that, information. You are going to have next steps, whether it's us helping to connect you with a doctor, making sure that you have the right supplement to help you start taking action right away, diet and exercise, again, and sleep, lifestyle recommendations, things that you can start doing in the next hour that can help you regain some form of a sense of control. And I actually believe, for me, a part of that journey was actually sticking to my supplement routine that my naturopathic doctors had given me. At the time, it was 16 bottles of pills lined up on my vanity, and every day going through and taking them or sorting them if I had to leave the house. Obviously, that's something we wanted to make better by putting everything in a little pre-dosed packages and condensing it into something that is manageable. But the act of just continuing to take your supplements every day, it helps to restore a little bit of that feeling of control while you're waiting. You're doing something while you're waiting.
Right. So taking supplement is one part. At the same time, the lifestyle changes also plays a huge role.
Huge.
So I've been following you where you every day there's like day 1, day 2, day 3, get healthier with me. Yeah, I did go through that. So that pretty much brings me to the next topic, where a lot of people, especially for women who go through this process, and already it takes them an emotional toll. But people try to be supportive by saying that it's fine, it'll get better, you can try again. Or sometimes even worst case, why don't you try for adoption? They think that it's going to help them. But unless and until you're living through that experience, I don't think anyone will be able to understand that. So did you get those comments, or how did that land on you? How did you navigate all that?
Yeah, I think when I was going through my kind of pregnancy loss and fertility journey, I really didn't talk about it. I was so just devastated, and I knew the statistics. I knew how many other people could possibly be going through the same thing, but nobody around me had ever talked about their experiences. And so I just kept everything kind of hidden deep inside, and I kind of tried to push it down. If I could go back, that's the one thing I would change. I would definitely get therapy, and I would definitely have shared more, because everybody around you wants to support you. That being said, of course, there are comments that are obviously well-meaning when people say, at least it was early, or you can try again, or there's other ways to do things. And I don't think the intention is ever to make someone feel badly, but people don't know what to say. And I think if we continue to talk about it more and explain, these aren't the best ways to approach. Here are some other options. I've learned, because of my own experience and because I've talked to so many people who've gone through this, I often like to say to people or offer people some specific help as opposed to trying to offer them platitudes. So I've had many friends who have since gone through loss or something challenging in their fertility journeys. And my response is often, I'm coming to drop off food. Do you want a hamburger or do you want a salad? Pick one. So you're not asking, how can I help you?
Right.
You're offering them something so specific. Or I've also said, I'm going to be in your neighborhood tomorrow. Do you want me to come and sit beside you and I can sit there quietly and we can watch a TV show and you don't have to talk? Or do you want to talk and I'm happy to sit with you? Or I'm coming to pick you up and we're going for a walk and we don't have to talk about anything, but I'm going to come and pick you up and take you out of your house. And I think sometimes that can just be so, so helpful. My husband did that for me a few days after my loss. And I had been lying in bed and just so devastated and watching TV, trying to distract myself. He said, okay, we're getting up and we're going for a walk and we're just going to go and walk around the block and that's what we're going to do. And he picked me up and we walked around the block and he did that a few times. And, just getting outside and moving, that is sometimes so helpful, but you sometimes just need someone to come and pick you up.
Yeah, it's very important because getting that support system, having a support system is very important. And also us asking for help is something which does not come naturally.
No.
Just a 4-letter word, but it's so difficult to ask for help.
Why do you think that is?
It's a sign of weakness.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure people are watching, women are watching, they ask for help, or at least people who understand them, they can share whatever they feel, however they feel, they should share it with people whom they trust. And you told me that you've heard a lot of stories. So when women trust you with their most vulnerable season, it changes you. So when you hear all probably it could be grief or it could be what they're going through, it pretty much consumes you. I mean, it takes a toll or unintentionally it takes a toll on our mental health as well. So how do you navigate that without letting those stories consume you?
I think because our purpose at Bird&Be is to serve them.
Right.
And so when we hear, and trust me, through working on this company, everyone I talk to, from customers to our unit carton manufacturers to our FedEx agents, they feel the desire to share their own story or the story of their sister or their aunt. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a story. And because we're working in the space, they feel that they can share it and they can share it safely. I have people calling for support all the time. And this is why we built this company. We built this company to serve these people, to make their load a little bit easier, to provide them with education that has been vetted by doctors, provide them with product that has been proven effective and safe, to take that little bit of the mental load off of their shoulders while they're going through such a difficult time.
Right. Yeah. So when you look beyond data, like you said, you've been communicating with a lot of people. So what is it that you notice that which does not get discussed publicly? Is there something which they don't discuss publicly, but they actually share one-on-one, which needs that awareness outside?
I think male fertility is probably one of the big ones.
Right.
There's still a lot of stigma, I think, and within certain cultures even more so. There's more stigmatization around masculinity in male fertility, and that's something that we hear a lot, and we get asked a lot for packaging, to make sure that the packaging, or asking if the packaging is going to be discreet when it's shipping, because people still feel that they don't want to broadcast their journey or their medical issues to the world. And I think, of course, it's fair to want to be private about anything happening in your world, medically or otherwise. But if we can do our part wherever possible to share more, I really do think that will help break the stigma. And as kind of a result of that, people will get the education earlier on, and they will be able to access care earlier on, and they will be able to optimize their health earlier on, and we will see less cases.
Right. I hope the mindset changes is going forward in few years from now. And so you started Bird&Be while you were going through the fertility issues yourself?
The original idea came as I was growing my family and kind of crystallized as I was going through loss and then trying to conceive again for the period of around a year. And then the company launched about a year and a half after my daughter was born. We actually had product in the market.
And how did you juggle between the two roles? Because there'll be a survival mode because you're personally going through. There'll be times where you would have had a sleepless night or you would have had a heavy morning. And immediately you need to switch to that founder mode of you'll have a meeting or you'll have an investment meeting again or you'll have a product launch. So how did you juggle between the two roles, between the survival mode and the founder mode?
I'm still doing it today. I didn't sleep last night. So I don't think we ever, I don't think it ever changes. I think this is just how life is. We have stuff going on in our personal life. We have hard stuff going on in our life, in business, at work, as a founder. There's never a time where everything's going to be calm and peaceful in one area of your life. I think what's been my saving grace and has helped me build resilience is daily movement, making sure that I'm physically well so that I can be strong in all of my roles. Because if you're not physically well, you can't be mentally well. And you need that strength in order to build the resilience so you can keep on keeping on.
Right. That's very important to have movement, and at least it helps you to regulate your mind. Otherwise, you're just stuck in one thought. Yeah, it's very important. And again, like, were there times where your emotional vulnerability show up in your decision making, or you were able to segregate both separately?
I think vulnerability in leadership is actually really important. And it's something that I have been working on the past couple of years. I think showing your vulnerability to both your team and also to the community is necessary. We are women who, again, are leading these very complex lives.
Yeah.
And you can't just pretend to have a life that doesn't affect you at work. So certainly when I think about decision making in the company, a lot of the times we think about our team's capacity when we're making decisions. Do we need to rush a product launch, or do we need to layer on another campaign? Can we physically handle this? Does everybody have the capacity? And sometimes we have to say no, like we can't handle this from a mental or a physical state. Like we just can't take something else on. And I think showing that vulnerability of saying like, no, I've maxed out right now, and this isn't in the best interest of me personally or the team personally, and making decisions based on the well-being of your team. I think that's super important.
Right. No, it's so true, where we often project ourselves like we're so strong from outside, everything is in place, while showing that vulnerability is something which not a lot of us do, but I guess it's very important to be vulnerable.
It is. And imagine we had more of those conversations. Yeah. Imagine we were able to share that kind of emotion more often, how much we could open up the opportunities perhaps for people who might not think that they're fit for a role because of X, Y, or Z. Imagine they saw other leaders admitting mistakes.
Right.
Being emotional, saying they're sorry.
You always wear that mask.
Yeah.
And was there any non-negotiable with respect to developing the products? Because there are other prenatals in the market as well. So was there any pressure to perform where, to just stand out? Like you said, we were just discussing where rushing to launch a product, or was there any? What was some of the non-negotiable? You're like, even if it's going to cost my time, my momentum, my money, these are all the things which I will not do.
There are so many. So we are a company that's founded by fertility doctors and fertility naturopaths. So there are standards that were set that were absolutely non-negotiables. Our products have to be in line with governing bodies. So CDC, Health Canada, ACOG in the United States, CFAS in Canada, SOGC in Canada. These are all the governing bodies of the obstetricians, gynecologists, fertility doctors, and they're non-negotiables. When they say you need to have folic acid in your product, we need to have folic acid in our products. And then naturopaths say, we want to make sure that there is bioavailability in the forms. And here is all the evidence to suggest why this form is better than this form. Then we trust the evidence and we trust the doctor's research and we trust the studies. And then there were other non-negotiables that are still part of our kind of everyday path, which are how we study the products.
Right.
So there's a lot of brands that that publish studies that are related to the ingredients that go into their products and studies that have been done on the individual ingredients. And that's great. That shows that there's been some thought put into the products. And that was one of the original ways we developed our product too, looking at the science. And then the next level is we've seen brands do this where they will test consumers who don't take the prenatal vitamins, and then they'll test the ones that did take the prenatal vitamins, and they will show in their blood work that certain markers went up. So you didn't take the product, then you did, and your iron levels went up. Well, that's great. That shows that there's iron in your product and that it's being absorbed. So that's the next kind of level. We have done studies at a higher level than that. So we have actually shown the statistical significance and the material change to a biomarker as a result of taking the product. So we most recently partnered with a fertility clinic, and we took male factor infertility patients. They were tested, they had a semen analysis in clinic, and then they took our product for 3 months for male fertility, and then they were retested after 3 months. And we showed not only did the antioxidants in their system go up, but their sperm quality went up. So their motility went up statistically significantly. Their morphology went up. So we were able to show not just did the product absorb in their system, but so what? What impact did that have on their overall health? What impact did that have on their actual sperm quality? And so we've committed to continuing this type of science. We have 2 more studies in the works for next year, for 2026. And we're really excited to keep doing that good science and, of course, maintaining the integrity of the product in accordance with all of the different colleges and regulations.
Right, interesting. When I was reading about Bird&Be as well, so what I understood was prior to Bird&Be was launched, the prenatal space, it was all about generic supplements. Here, the products which you all have developed, it's all individualistic. It's tailored to the particular needs. Like you said, yeah. So in-depth analysis, it's very important. So I'm just going to take you back to the phase where you had just started. Was there a decision which you took which pretty much changed, like for good? Looking back, it's like, I'm glad I took that decision.
Yeah. One of our earliest decisions was to actually make our products vegan.
Okay.
They did not start off vegan. They weren't vegan for the first probably few months because some of the materials, and especially CoQ10, is not traditionally encapsulated in a vegan soft gel. It's very difficult to do. It took us almost a year in R&D to get that product into a stable soft gel that was vegan and not made of bovine. And this was really important to us because we wanted, of course, to have the product be accessible to as many people as possible. And there's a lot of people who don't eat meat or fish for various reasons. But the other interesting piece is that people who are vegetarian or vegan are often lower in a lot of the most important nutrients. And so we wanted to make a product that the people who needed it the most could actually take.
Right. Interesting. So again, juggling between the role of being a mom and being a founder. So it's pretty much, you have to be emotionally available for them, at the same time emotionally available for the company, and the responsibility just does not stop. You pretty much told me that it's just one, that it doesn't separate. And there's no pause button at all. It's just, okay, you're moving, you just completed the meeting. Next is you have to go to the daycare. Or next is there'll be like a hockey match that you have to take the kid to. So how do you navigate that?
I mean, I am so grateful for the iPhone because I can do so much of my job.
Right.
It's like this little computer that I just take with me wherever I go. So I'm always working. If I get to school pickup 5 minutes early, I am working for that 5 minutes while I'm waiting for my kids. If I'm dropping off at the hockey rink and I have an hour between the drop off and the start of the game, my laptop is with me and I'm working on kind of the side of the rink. I'm always working in the spaces kind of between doing things with my kids and, dealing with responsibilities at home. I outsource help as much as I can. So I have a full-time nanny. It's the only way I can do my job. We talked about this before. School ends. As women, we're set up for failure.
Yeah.
School ends at 3:30.
Right.
And then what are you supposed to do? Because that's not when the workday ends. So I'm lucky enough to be able to have a full-time nanny. It's the only way I could really cover off that afternoon part of the day with childcare. I have an amazing village of friends and family who help with carpooling and who, pick up my kids from school and take them places. And when I'm traveling, I know that there's so many people I can rely on to be helpful. I order my groceries. I don't spend an hour grocery shopping because I don't have the time. So there's, little things that you can do to blend it all together. It's not easy, but this is just kind of the reality.
Right. Like you said, it just zaps the energy. I guess the lifestyle plays an important role because end of the day, when you're constantly juggling between, like you said, even if there's a hockey match, you'll be on your phone. Yeah. For example, you'll be attending a meeting. So end of the day, it just drains your energy. So does exercise play an important role with coping up?
It does. And I think it's what saved me. I don't think that I would have gotten through the toughest moments of the past 4 or 5 years if I hadn't been physically strong enough to handle it. And because of the exercise, I am mentally strong. It's so interconnected, and I think the importance of this is so undervalued. As women, we need to be moving our bodies every day, but not just moving. We need to be lifting heavy weights because we need to be able to carry our families, to carry our bodies, to carry our responsibilities. You need to build that strength and resilience, but it builds that in your mind too. When you know every morning that you've done something really, really hard and that you've accomplished something, it shifts in your brain. It also creates creativity and, just regulation, patience, things that enable you to go on with the rest of your day in a way that I think is different than if you were just sedentary all the time. And I think when you feel better in your body, you treat people with kindness and with patience. And I cannot stress it enough. Everybody needs to move their body. You need to be lifting heavy weights.
No, this is pretty much a motivation because we often convince ourselves that I'm just tired. No, not today. Just procrastinating it like tomorrow. Let me start tomorrow. And then we blame that, no, I'm so weak. My bones are weak. Yeah, it's very important to inculcate exercise in our day-to-day life and not giving excuses because you're pretty much a live example of...
do it. Just do it. I tell everyone, I tell my team sometimes, like we're on a call, I'm like, everybody stop and do 10 squats. Right. Just move. You got to move your body.
Right. And is there something which you had to consciously unlearn while during this process?
It's a good question. It might be less of an unlearn and more of a relearn, but you know that saying, like, this too shall pass?
Right.
I learned that when my kids were young, because I remember with my first son, you know, going through just as you're going through right now, just these time periods of feeling like how could I possibly keep going? I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted. Breastfeeding hurts so much. My body, like, just not understanding that everything was a phase because I had never experienced it before. And after experiencing it with my first, I recognized with my two other children that when I was going through these really, really tough periods, that it would eventually pass, and that kind of helped me to get through it. It was the kind of the same thing with business, where the first couple of years were probably the hardest years of my life. I can't remember a time where, you know, I was dealing with so many things that felt existential. And in your head, you kind of think like, well, am I going to get through this? And then you do. And so once you go through it and once you realize I can get through this, as it continues to happen, as the pits, you know, of, you know, daily operations kind of hit every so often, you recognize I have done this before. I now have the confidence to know I can solve this problem. This too shall pass.
Right. I guess it's pretty much an experience. Once we go through that, we know, like, we are equipped to handle it better the next time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very true. And if there's a woman who's listening to this episode, who's in the thick of TTC or trying to conceive, like no clarity, lot of questions, and she's just watching this episode, what do you want to tell her?
One step at a time. One step at a time. If you can sometimes, you know, when you're in the really just the depths of it, if you've just gone through a loss, or if you've just, you know, failed another transfer, or you've been struggling and trying for some time and it hasn't been working out, sometimes it can feel like just getting to the next hour is the biggest challenge. And so I would say even the smallest step is still a step, one step at a time, 1 hour at a time, one morning at a time, one day at a time. Every day, take yourself outside to walk. Walk. Take that one step physically. It will help you take it emotionally as well.
Right. That pretty much brings us to the end of this episode. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your experience. And if you're going through this process and if you're feeling that you're alone, you're not alone, and ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness. And if you have an idea, take the first step. Don't sit with it. And until next time, with another guest, another episode, thank you so much for watching. Thank you.